I will give the pot to the sandal maker for sandals. But the pot maker says, I do not want wheat either. I need a goat. And so Aaron walks and walks. He talks to 10 different people. He searches for hours, just for one pair of sandals. This problem is what we call the double coincidence of wants. It means two people must each want exactly what the other person has at the same time. This was very hard. It was slow. It was frustrating. People began to feel that something had to change. The world needed something new, something that everyone could use, something that everyone would trust. And slowly, across the world, in many different places, people began to discover a surprising answer. The answer did not come from one person. It did not come from one city or one king. It came slowly, like the seasons change, from many different people in many different lands. And the answer was this: use something that everyone wants. Use something that does not break. Use something that is easy to carry. Use something that is hard to fake. In different parts of the world, people chose different things. In some places, people used salt. Salt was very valuable. It kept food fresh. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid with salt. That is where the word salary comes from. In other places, people used shells, small, beautiful shells from the sea. In China, cowrie shells were used as money for thousands of years. In some cold lands, animal skins and furs were used. In parts of Africa, cattle were used. In Mesopotamia, the land between two great rivers, people used grain and silver in measured amounts. And slowly, through this long discovery, people began to understand something very important. Money is not a thing. Money is an idea. Money is trust. If everyone agrees that shells have value, then shells have value. If everyone agrees that a piece of metal has value, then it does. And this idea, this simple but powerful idea, was about to take a new and beautiful form. Something was coming that would travel across mountains, deserts, and oceans. More than 2,600 years ago, in a small kingdom called Lydia, in a land we now call Turkey, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in history, a government made small, round pieces of metal and said, "These have value. Use these to trade." These were the first coins. The Lydian coins were made from a natural mixture of gold and silver called electrum. Each coin was small and heavy. Each coin had a symbol stamped on it, the symbol of the king. And that symbol meant something powerful. It meant, this coin is real. This coin is trusted. This coin is official. The idea spread quickly. Traders carried these coins across the Mediterranean Sea. Greeks made their own coins. Persians made theirs. Romans made theirs. And with coins, trade became something new. A farmer could sell wheat to anyone. He did not need to find someone who wanted wheat. He took his coins and later bought what he needed. Coins made markets bigger. They made cities richer. They helped armies buy food and weapons. They helped artists, teachers, and builders get paid. The world moved faster. And for centuries, coins were money. But coins were heavy. Carrying 1,000 coins was difficult and dangerous. The world was growing. Trade was growing. And soon, a new question arrived. Was there a lighter way? The answer to that question came from China. More than 1,000 years ago, during the Tang and Song dynasties, Chinese merchants had a clever idea. They did not want to carry heavy coins across long distances, so they left their coins with a trusted person, a kind of early banker. And that banker gave them a paper receipt, a piece of paper that said, "This person has coins. Trust this paper." And so, paper money was born. Later, Chinese emperors made this official. They printed paper money for the whole country. Paper was light. Paper was easy to carry. One small piece of paper could represent hundreds of coins. It was a wonderful idea. But it came with a danger. With coins, the value was in the metal itself. You could feel the gold and silver. But with paper, the paper itself was worth almost nothing. The value was a promise, and promises can be broken. In China, some rulers printed too much paper money. Too much paper, not enough gold or silver behind it. Prices went up and up. People lost trust. The paper became worthless. This lesson, print too much, trust disappears, is one that the world would have to learn again and again. And yet, paper money traveled west. European traders heard about it. Slowly, over centuries, banks in Europe began to print their own notes. The world was changing, and this change was only getting bigger. By the 1600s and 1700s, banks existed across Europe. These were not the same as the banks we know today. They were buildings of stone and wood, quiet and serious, where rich families kept their gold and silver safe. When you gave your gold to a bank, the bank gave you a paper note. That note said, "Come back any time, and we will give you your gold." These notes began to travel. People trusted them. And slowly, people used these notes to pay for things, without ever touching the gold. This system had a name, the gold standard. Every paper note had gold behind it. Every promise was backed by something real. It felt safe. It felt honest. And for a long time, it worked. Countries grew rich. Trade across oceans expanded. Empires were built. But there was always a tension, a quiet pressure in the system. What happens when a country needs more money than it has gold? What happens during a war, when armies need payment and food and weapons? The gold standard began to show its limits. In the 1900s, two terrible world wars shook the earth. Governments needed money, enormous amounts of money. They could not wait for gold. And so, slowly, one by one, countries left the gold standard behind. The last great step came in 1971, when the United States officially ended the link between the dollar and gold. From that day, the dollar, and most money in the world, was backed by nothing but trust, nothing but a promise. And that is both beautiful and a little frightening. The world did not stop changing. In the middle of the 20th century, a new idea arrived. What if you did not need to carry paper at all? What if a small card could carry your money? The first credit cards appeared in the 1950s in the United States. A man named Frank McNamara forgot his wallet at a dinner. He felt embarrassed. He could not pay. And from that embarrassment, the idea of a card you could always carry was born. By the 1970s and 1980s, plastic cards were everywhere. Banks gave cards to millions of people. You could walk into a shop with nothing in your pocket, no coins, no paper, and buy things with one small card. Then computers arrived. Then the internet. By the 1990s, people could pay for things online from their homes without leaving their chairs. Money had become invisible. Numbers on a screen, a click of a button. And the world moved faster and faster. But the biggest surprise was still coming. Because in 2008, someone, or a group of people, using only the name Satoshi Nakamoto, published a short document on the internet. That document described a new kind of money, a money with no bank, a money with no government, a money that lived only in computers and mathematics. And the world would never look at money in quite the same way again. The name of this new idea was Bitcoin, and it was unlike anything the world had seen before. Most money in the world is controlled by banks and governments. They decide how much money exists. They decide the rules.